Um, what do I think Sally's? What do I think the fate of Sally will be um, after Genesis? Well, honestly, I can't really say what I think the fate fate of the character of Princess Sally Acorn will be because a lot of people have given their opinions already. I mean, some people that I've talked to on several of the message boards feel that Ian Flynn is going in the direction that a lot of them don't want him to go in, and that's killing off the character. Now, there have been, from what I understand, some fans that do like the character and are willing to accept, they're actually willing to accept, some fans, from what I understand, accept her death if what happens to her is done in a heroic, sacrificial way. But the only problem with that is the most recent description, um, essentially for the first issue of 2012, says that she has fallen. Now, that could mean many things to many fans, longtime fans, fans that like her, fans that don't like her. It could mean a lot to a lot of fans. So I can't really say what I think the fate's really going to be. I mean, I've come out and said to myself that, and I've even said this on YouTube, I've said this at various sites, I'm willing to accept possibly the fact that she could be gone. I mean, would I be upset about it? Yeah, because I've been a fan of the character since the cartoon and since the beginning of the comic. So yeah, I would be upset about it. I mean, I've come out and said this, and I'll say it again. When Endgame happened in '97, I was upset that Ken Penders was going to kill her off until I read the last issue in that anniversary, in that story arc that led to the 50th issue, and I read the end of the 50th issue and I saw that she was alive and she was well. But yeah, when I first thought she was dead, I was upset, But you got to remember, at a time, I was in high school. Still. I was about going into my senior year, believe it or not. It was around '97, so I was going into my senior year. But yeah, I was mad at that time. So I honestly think, in my opinion, right. So honestly, I think, in my opinion, that I may not be the only one that could probably accept her fate, if that happens, because I'm older now. You gotta imagine, I was like 16, 17 years old. I was actually 17, 18 years old. Still, still a little young in the mind. Still kind of like a kid at heart, and still a big time fan, which I'm, and a huge fan at the time, and I still am. But the thing is, you got to remember, that's like 15 years ago. So but the thing is, would I be upset if she was gone? Yes. Like I said, I would be upset they killed her off, but I wouldn't be upset to the point that I'd be willing to quit the book. I'd be willing to unsubscribe. What would my reaction be? Now, my reaction, however, what it would be, I should say, if they turned her into a temporary villain or villainess, which is another road a lot of fans seem to think that Ian Flynn's going to take her down. I think it might be quite interesting, because the way I looked at it is the fact that I think what could happen is it would show, storyline-wise, if you want to try to be realistic, that not even the good guys that try to be good, that try to fight for what's right, are indestructible or invulnerable to becoming evil. So that I could accept as well, because it would be interesting to see where they would go with it. Um, Another, the other thing I can think of is her being roboticized, and legionized, which would basically, like I say, go down that same track of being turned into a temporary villainess, just to see where they go with it. But the other thing that I've thought of recently, is possibly her ending up, having to give up everything, her and her family having to give up everything just to have, find a way to stop Eggman. So, I really, honestly can't really say what her fate will be, because it's kind of up in the air right now. I mean, some descriptions say once give you an idea of what's going to happen one way, and sometimes they don't. The cover previews give you a description that's not, the covers obviously don't match the description somewhat, so because they don't give no clear answer, they always have like question marks on them. So I can't really say whether we're going to see an evil Sally, a dead Sally, a roboticized, legionized Sally, which falls under the evil, or we're going to see a beaten Sally, someone that mentally has been beaten, mentally has been beaten and has fallen and just doesn't know what to do anymore. So I don't know what we're going to see, and I don't know what the fate's going to be, but all I can say is just have to stay tuned, and as they say in the Sonic Grams to a lot of the fans, just to stay tuned and just keep reading and see where we go from there. Do I think Sonic and Sally will be together after this is all said and done with this whole Genesis story arc and what occurs afterwards? I can't really say that they will be. I mean, I'm pretty sure if Ian is, as he has mentioned to many fans, according to what I understand and have read and heard, that he's a supporter of the pairing. Then if that's true, then I definitely expect them to be together after this. Because what indicates to me, it indicates that to me, and I know I'll get people, flanking me for this, and probably, throwing some negative comments, but I remember reading the last issue of the sequel to Mobius 25 years later. And this was the sequel to the original Mobius 25 years later, which Ken Penders did, then Ian Flynn picked up later on. And there was this scene where Sonic and Sally, like I say, 25 years later, comment on the fact that they've been through a lot, but they've worked it out, they've gotten through it, and that's all that matters. So if that's, as Ian puts it and some others have put it, an alternate universe, an alternate timeline, I believe that what was said in that panel right then and there between the characters, or what was written for those characters, kind of gave us an indication that, okay, things will be alright with the characters no matter what. We just don't know what they're going to have to go through to make sure they get that happy ending. We're not really sure. So to be honest, to answer you honestly, I do hope they're together afterwards, after it's all said and done, because a comic book, no matter what it's based on, either it's based on an original idea, or whether it's based on a video game or a cartoon series or a live action series, or even a movie franchise or whatever, or a board game, that if you have a main female lead and a main male lead, and those two are meant to be together as a couple, then that's always what people are going to want to see. I mean, you take a look at X-Men, you got the male leads of one of the main male leads in Cyclops, Scott Summers, And for a majority of that comic, he was always with Jean Grey. Nowadays, he's with Emma Frost, but that's an entirely different story. But back when the comic had Jean Grey, without having to deal with the whole, oh, she's the Phoenix, and she can't really be with them and all that. It was really their pairing that got people talking. It was kind of the romantic interaction that got people talking. So, and the same could be said for Superman and Lois Lane. Same could be said for Spider-Man and Mary J. And maybe even before that, Spider-Man and Gwen. That was always the pairing that it drew people. It was always the romantic pairing. Yeah, you had your action, you had your adventure, you had your plot, but it was and your story arc. But it was always that romantic pairing that got really attracted people. And that's what I believe has helped attract people here to the comic. Not just for the fact that it's, in a way, sort of a continuation in its own unique way of the Sonic SatAM cartoon series, but it's also the only last vesture, if you will, the only last investure in media that would have this popular, couple right here. So, yeah, again, I do hope they end up back together, but I don't know exactly what Ian's going to put them through for them to get to that point, so, but then again, they may not get back together because, Sega, like I mentioned in the previous questions, and one of the previous questions has said that, they don't want Sonic to have any romantic interest. I mean, it's okay. Oh, I mean, it's like, all right, he can have a love interest, he can probably have a girlfriend in the comics, but he can't go any further than just that. So, it's totally up to what, it's totally up to whether they're okay with it or not. So, but I'm hoping that they stay together because that's one of the reasons that's gotten me into the comics is just those two alone. So, yeah, as crazy as that may sound, but yeah, I do hope they get back together. I do hope they stay together, but I can't really say if they will. It all depends on the total outcome and what the true decision is going to be on both ends, if you know what I mean.